Hello, this is Caesar, and I'm your trainer to freedom. And today I have something that I would like to share with you. It's something that when I first learned about it, it really shook my world. I didn't believe it first, but I decided to give it a try anyway. And I tried it and I realized how useful it is and how common knowledge that should be. And yet I discovered that actually even people whom who are preoccupied with self-improvement and they read books and apply things, stuff like that, even they don't know about this simple thing and such a powerful thing. You see, if you're like most people, you probably found yourself sometimes in some situations where your state all of a sudden shifted, usually downgraded somehow. You started to feel not so good, not so empowered. And obviously that affected your behavior. And let's say you wanted to be resourceful and charismatic and creative and so forth. And yet, here you go, here you are. You feel pessimistic and fearful maybe, stuff like that. And that's frustrating because you know that you can be creative because you've been in so many other instances in the past. And yet, here you go, now you feel that way. You feel fearful and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't know what to do, and then you probably start to justify it for yourself, saying things like, oh, that's my personality, that's how I am, there's nothing I can do about it, and if I were to be authentic to myself, then I should feel this way because, here you go, I feel it, that therefore that's the truth. And I remember when I was, for instance, I don't know if I should say this or not, but when I was in high school I was pretty jealous. I mean, if my girlfriend would just simply, laugh at somebody else's joke, boy's joke, I would feel so disempowered. All of a sudden I would feel this emptiness inside. My body would become flaccid all of a sudden. And I would start to run scenarios in my mind, things like, I'm sure they are cheating behind my back or stuff like this. And if I were to speak in those moments, my words would sound harsh and cutting, not so attractive. And no wonder actually why, that girlfriend became more distant. And of course I would blame either her or that boy, so I would find somebody to blame. I would position myself into a victim stance, and at least I would have somebody to blame. But it's not really satisfying. So if you're feeling those kind of situations when you notice that your state is like descends upon you like a phenomenon, that you cannot do anything about it, you're not alone. And you know what I'm talking about. You probably heard a lot of people saying things like, well, whenever I even think about that person, I start to feel that way. Or if she says that, I feel upset. Or that upsets me, or he makes me feel that way, or whether it's in a certain way outside, I feel in a particular way, or for instance, a common example, public speaking. Whenever I have to speak in public, I feel those butterflies in my stomach. You know what I'm talking about. But again, this is just like seeing the state you're in, the feelings you're having, like descending from somewhere from above upon you, like rain falling upon you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And this is a victim position. This is a disempowering position. That's not really satisfying. Because when you are to realize and to accept that actually the state you are in, it's the result of some things, certain things that you are doing. You are constructing your state actively, moment by moment. You're doing it. You're doing it unconsciously. That's why you don't realize you're doing it. But if you were to bring that process into your consciousness and pay attention and notice that you are doing certain things which result in the state you're ending up into, then you gain the power, because you can alter those elements and alter your end state in this respect. Now, what are those elements I'm mentioning? Well, there are three elements. It's simple. There are three elements. First of them, it is your physiology. The way you stand, the way you move, the way you breathe, the way your face stays. You know, if you're standing like this, you're going to feel differently than if you're standing like this, slouchy, and stuff like that. Or if you're breathing fully, you're going to feel differently than if you're breathing shallow. Or if you're holding your teeth clenched, you're going to feel differently if you comparing when you're relaxed. Maybe you heard that saying from William James. He said that I don't sing because I'm happy. I'm happy because I sing. And why is that? Because when you sing, you're using your body into a different way, which resembles to the state of happiness. Because you position yourself into a certain way, you're breathing fully, your voice sounds full, it's not timid or retreated, because you're going to feel differently when your voice is retreated comparing with when your voice is full and ample and timbered and confident in this respect. Now the second element is your focus. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you have, or are you focusing on what you don't have? Are you focusing on potential problems, or are you focusing on possibilities? Are you focusing on past failures, things that happened in the past, or are you focusing on what you want to create for yourself in the future? You see, your focus, your imagination, the scenarios you're running through your head, through your mind, they determine how you feel. They determine how you feel. And the third element is your language. What kind of words are you using? What kind of labels are you putting on the things around you? Let's say outside is cold these days here in Omaha. Now I can say it's freezing cold, it's biting you, it's numbing cold, stuff like this. Or I can say it's cold, it's chilly. You see, it's the same thing, but the words I put on the thing determine the images that I make in my mind. I know it's just semantics, but those semantics determine the images that I create in my mind, so I put out in my reality. Something happens. I can call that a disaster. That's something terrible happening. Or I can call that an event. It's the same thing. But the semantics are different, so that determines different images in my mind. So there are those three things that we are doing all the time in order to build our states. And there is the physiology, the focusing, what are you focusing on, or the language that you use. Alter one or all three of those elements, and your state will going to shift. And the more sudden and the more dramatic the change, the more effective the change in your state. It's just as simple as that. So if you find yourself at one moment in time into a particular state that you don't like, let's say you're feeling into a particular way and you notice, I don't like that. Stop, distance yourself from yourself and look at yourself and notice, what's your physiology? How do you move? How do you breathe? How are your teeth? Are you relaxed or are you tense? What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on, oh, it's raining outside, we're going to rain? Or are you focusing on, I'm going to a party where I'm going to have a great time? You see? What are you focusing on? And what kind of language are you using? What kind of words are you using? You see, let's say somebody tells you, you say something and somebody tells you, in my opinion, I have a different opinion about that. So he says that. Now compare this with the situation when the other person would say to you, you're wrong. Don't you feel differently when somebody else tells you those different types of replies? And when it is somebody else who says it, who says that, you can discard it. You can say, oh, that's just him. It's he has a problem, or whatever it happens to be. But when you say those words to yourself, and you say those words unconsciously to yourself, you don't even know you're saying those words. Can you imagine the effect those words are having on your mental activity. You see? So pay attention, what kind of words are you telling yourself? Are you talking to yourself nicely, or are you talking to yourself harshly? Come on, you should love yourself. So, if you don't like the state you're in, ask yourself, what kind of state I would like to be instead? What kind of state I would like to be instead? Just stop for a moment, come back, calm down, come to the 0 point, and ask yourself, what kind of state would I like to be in? And just imagine that state. Oh, I'd like to be in that state. Just hallucinate a little bit. And if you were to be in that state, how would you stand? What would be your posture? How would you breathe? How would you move? Stuff like this. What would you focus on if you were to be in that perfect state you would like to be? What would you focus on? What kind of language would you use? What kind of words would you use when talking to yourself and to others? See? Because if you don't do that, if you don't take control of those elements, then you're going to feel like a victim for the rest of your life. Because when something changes in your environment, and by the way, something will going to change in your environment all the time. Everything changes all the time. So when something changes in your environment, your state will going to just change just like that. And of course, to be out of your control, so you're going to feel like a ping pong ball, you know, hit by somebody else. So you always feel out of control. And of course, that's not a satisfying type of life. But if you do stop and accept and realize that actually you are creating your own state, and you pay attention to those 3 elements, physiology, focus, and language, and really take control over them and alter them in such a way to guide you and to build and to construct for yourself the state you would like to be in. That's when actually you're going to find that it's really easy to do that. If you're willing to shift your state, it's really easy to do that. So you're going to gain a new enriched perspective over the world. So you'll have the possibility to live a life of passion, because you'll be able to construct it for yourself the way you want it to be. Now, I really hope that I was clear in my message, because I know it's a concept that might be a little bit challenging at the beginning. It was for me, at least. I don't know. If I wasn't clear enough, please ask me questions. Write comments below right there. Ask me questions. I'm going to answer back the best I can, because I really want this concept to be understood. I recently realized how less understood it is, and how few of the people around me, they actually apply this in their lives, and how many of them, they feel like a victim and then wonder why they are not happy. That I really want this concept understood and really accepted by the people, because when you do that, when people around do that, the world will become a better place. So please, if you think that this message is valuable, please like it, and ask me questions, or write comments. And if you believe that your friends might benefit from this particular message, share it with them and encourage them to ask me questions and to make comments, so that they will be able to gain a better understanding of how to apply this concept in their lives actively. And with that said, I really hope that this make a difference for you. Enjoy the beginning of next week. Take good care for now.